Hello and welcome back to the Tin Barn. I'm Pragmatic Lee, and this week's video is going to be a little bit of continuation from last week's. But before I get into it, I would like to sincerely express my and my family's gratitude for all the comments of condolences in response to last week's video. Things are settling down a little bit. And again, I appreciate the community, and I also appreciate all the comments that were added or suggestions that were given on what to do with this electric motor and the regulator and the lubricator with it. And I got a lot of suggestions for one item in particular, a couple suggestions for another item. But there was one suggestion for an item that I don't already have here in the shop that I'm going to be doing. I think I'm going to be using this electric motor for. I'm not quite ready to reveal that yet, so you got to stay tuned to my channel. But it's something I think everybody could probably use in their shop, so stay tuned. But no matter what I do with this motor, I'm going to need some kind of a mount. Pointed out in the last video, this side right here is looks like it's machined for a mount. It's got a divot in it or dimple in it, 4-set screw. This end seems to have a little bit of taper right on. So I think it's meant to just simply have a mount from this side or on this end. I've got a piece of 1/2 inch thick aluminum stock. It's 2.5 inches by, I think that's probably 4. Yeah, 2.5 inches by 4. What we're going to do first is put this over on the rotary table. We're going to make a mount for this electric motor today that will be usable for no matter what I use that motor for. Again, I've got a very good idea of what I'm going to do with it, but I'm not quite ready to reveal that yet. So first off, we're going to put this over on the milling machine on the rotary table and make a kind of tombstone design out of it. And then we'll go right dead to the center here and bore it out for this boss that's on the end of the motor. Then we'll mount a set screw in the side. This will be turned to the side so that the inlet and outlet on the side and not the top, which would more than likely conflict with whatever this is used for. So we'll put a set screw in there, and this is a piece of used material here. I cut off a longer mount. Probably it come out of that stuff that I got from my brother-in-law material. More than likely it was used in a setup on an assembly line somewhere. So let's get turned over to the milling machine now and get ready to basically put a tombstone formation on the top of this. I've got the rotary table mounted on the mill now, and I've got it mounted using this little quick mount that I made in a video from about 3 years ago. If I can get my finger pointed right, if I can remember it, I'll put a link to a card up here to that video. But it's just simply a piece of square stock that I surface ground 2 flat surfaces on and made the mounts to mount the rotary table on. And the reason I did that, for something simple as this little job, not really necessary to take the vise off of the mill, mount this down, just do the quick mount onto the mill. I'll remove my plate up here and used the coaxial indicator, and got the rotary table centered on the axis, on the Z-axis. I then mounted my mounting plate to that and moved that around until it was centered as well, with the table locked in place. Moved this around until everything was centered up. I've got a pointer in there now, and what I'm going to do is mount the piece on here centered. This piece is a little over 2.5 inches wide. It's, as I say, I cut it off a long piece and just milled in squares. So I'll need to do an offset of 1.278 once I get it mounted. But I'm going to put this piece up here, sacrificial piece, and bring the table down, and I'll pretty much lock it in place right there while I get the mounts. These are mounting hardware that I put together a set of. I've got videos of that too. I'll try to remember to link them, but they're just a kit of toe clamps that I made for this mounting plate, the larger one I've got, and also one that I've got that goes on the lathe. So I'm just putting some little sacrificial pieces in here, or scrap pieces. They won't necessarily be sacrificed. And these little pieces I'm just putting under the toes just to keep from marring the workpiece. Alright, I think everything is secure now. Yeah, 1.278. Alright, there's the offset, so that point should be right on the edge, which it is. Now I'm going to be using a 3/8 end mill. I believe that's what I have out. 3/8. So I need to offset half of that 3/8. 0.188 will be plenty close enough. That's a total of 1.466. Alright, now I'll lock the X and the Y down and install the end mill. Looks like it's just going to touch, which will be fine. If I need to offset another thousandths or two, that will be fine as well. So let's see what that RPM looks like. We might can go up a little bit. Alright, that looks like it's going to work fine on this side. This is going to be climbing, which I don't want to do with this somewhat cheap rotary table. Now I'm going to pull back up out of the way now and go over here to where I should have started to begin with. Alright, I'm going to get the camera set up a little so you got a little better view. Alright, hopefully you can see a little better now. I'm going to start on this side, so I'll be conventional milling all the way around. And I'm not going to try to take a whole lot of depth on each cut. And I'm keeping the locks on the rotary table, keeping them snug. Little WD-40 to keep the end mill from clogging up. This is actually a 4 flute. I would have been better off using a 2 flute, but it's what I already had out. So. If you were watching closely, you saw what happened. I either didn't have the clamps tight enough, or I was taking too much cut at one time, or some of that WD-40 seeped under the clamps and provided a lubrication path. Whatever the case, the workpiece slipped. See this gouge right here. All is not lost, so what I'm going to do is move this center back. I'll offset about 200 thousandths more on the y-axis and just recut this. Everything should be in fine once I recenter that. Okay, let's see if we can salvage this piece. I took it out, carried it over to the bandsaw, and just knocked these pieces off that just to get them out of the way. But I moved the mark back about 175 thousandths, 150 thousandths, something like that. So let's get this mounted again. All right, I believe I got it snug enough this time. And I'm not going to try to take as much depth of cut each time either. All right, we need to move over half the thickness of the workpiece, which is 1.278, half the thickness of the end mill, which is 0.188, for 1.466. Okay, that was the last couple of passes that cleaned that up all the way to the bottom. What I'm going to do now is take this piece off, carry it over to the Scotch-Brite wheel, deburr it, remove the rotary table from the mill, get set up to bore for the boss on the motor. All right, I think we got a good tombstone effect onto our workpiece. We'll put it in the vise now and drill and bore out for the boss on the motor. Again, what we're looking for is something that this will slide into, this boss right here. We'll put just our center point in, just to get it to line up over our center punch that we used as the radius point. For what we're doing on this project, finding the point right here in this method is plenty good enough. The hole we'll be looking for will be 1.25 inches, and we're going to step drill it up to 1 inch and then bore it out. I'll set the X and Y axis to 0 in case we need to move out and measure. That was a 1/4 inch bit. Now we're going to step up to a 9/16. Oh, and in case he's watching, just got a text message from my grandson, David. He just passed his driving test, so he should be able to get his driving permit now. He's already got a Tahoe, washed it enough time to almost wear the paint off of it, and driven it up and down the path to his other grandparents' house enough to wear the tires out. But he's finally got his pass his test and get his permit now. So congratulations, David. We'll slow down a little bit. Now we'll go up to 1 inch. And I think I'll slow down even more. Alright, sorry about that, but batteries run down in my cordless mic. But this is an excellent fit in there. I'm very reluctant to use the term perfect, but that's as close to perfect as I can come into. And let's see what the calipers say. Remember, I zeroed them out and was looking for, or I zeroed them out at 1.250, and that's within 0.003 there. Plenty accurate for a caliper. So take this out now, deburr this ring, then we'll turn it up on the side and drill and tap for grub screws. Alright, now we're ready to put a set screw in the side, or grub screw for you non-US folks. So we'll set this down in our vise, and this, again, this is plenty fine to find that point with just the point of the drill. Zero out the DRO there. This is a clearance bit here, and I'm going to drill down about a 1/2 inch. I'll zero out the DRO right there, and I'll drill down that much, then we'll put the tap drill in. There's really no need of tapping that full length right there. Be tapping for a 1024 grub screw, just simply because that's what I got a overabundance of. I'm not really up to date on aluminum grades, but this appears to be a whole lot softer than 6061 aluminum, which I'm accustomed to using a lot. If you know what grade of aluminum that might be, drop me a comment below and tell me, because I'm always learning. Deburr that right quick. And I'm going to see what I'm talking about. This appears to be a whole lot softer. In 6061, that would have broke that chip off right there. So I'm going to have to file that a little bit, clean that up. But then we'll meet back over at the workbench and recap this. Alright, there's our completed motor mount, deburred. Remember, the motor has the dimples on both sides for the grub screw. So even if this mount right now, if the way I'm mounting it now is not right, it'll be easily flipped over to the other side. Alright, so there it is mounted. And whichever way I decide to use this on the upcoming project, again, I can turn this 180 degrees in the mount itself. I do have a project in mind for this, so stay tuned to the channel. It may be a surprise to you, all except for one person. Take care, and I'll see you on the next video.